third-party business interest.
Third-party business interest. Okay, so that's the second in-camera item that we have. Any other additions, changes? Otherwise, a motion to approve with one additional item. Councillor Wolstenholme makes that motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. For the good of council, does anyone have something they wish to share with the whole council? Councillor Poitras.
You bet. This past Saturday was the Fort Macleod Triathlon. We had a wonderful day, a great turnout. We had over 200 participants come out to do the triathlon. We had probably 60, 70 volunteers at the event that day. Everything ran smoothly and great. We appreciate all the sponsors that helped us out with that event. Obviously, those types of things don't happen without community support, without people volunteering. So many thanks to them, and big thanks to the town of Fort Macleod as well for their support for that event as well. And also to Councillor Henniger, who did a lot of work for us for promoting on social media and getting the word out about the triathlon. So thank you for that, and we'll see you all next year.
Very good. Anyone else? Councillor Henniger.
Just wanted to say a big thank you to both FCSS, Kids First, and the library. They've started their summer programming for, again, just families and youth in our community. So if you're looking for anything to do and to keep your kids and family busy, you can check out all their social platforms. But they kicked that off, especially with the rain. And I know today, Kids First Family Center was jam-packed full of kids and very thankful. So thank you to those organizations.
Very good. Councillor Fox.
A couple weeks ago was the rodeo. It was a great success again. Over the course of the 3 nights, they estimated approximately 6,000 people were on the property. The last night alone, they parked over 480 vehicles. So we need more parking.
So the third night was the busiest? Oh, for real?
Yeah, we're gonna work on that next.
Oh, that's amazing. I was going to mention I was invited to an event in Lethbridge that was hosted last night. It was hosted by one of the Canadian senators. So this was an event that they had a few mayors come. I think the mayor of Coaldale, Tabor, and mayor of Lethbridge, and a few county MDs were there as well. But they had 6 senators come from all across Canada, as far away as Maritimes, Quebec, Ontario, Alberta. And I think it was just an opportunity. They wanted to learn more about Southern Alberta. And so never heard of such an event before, but they had Trevor Lewington and there's a fellow from South Grow, Peter Casarella, do a bit of a presentation, both in Highway 3 corridor and the food, ag region in Southern Alberta. So that they were very much appreciative of the opportunity to come visit. So it's kind of neat. They had a bus going around their 4-day trip, I believe, that they had in Southern Alberta. So good opportunity to sit beside a senator from downtown Toronto and understand what goes on in downtown Toronto. He's a senator that had drafted 2 bills that went as far as getting approved in his first year as a senator. He said that rarely happens. So yeah, it was interesting to hear how the Senate kind of works a little bit and how those functions do. So it was good to be able to host them in Southern Alberta and be able to highlight what's going on here and the importance of the ag industry and big focus on transportation and how to move product out of the region, because we can grow as much as we want, but if we don't have the corridors to get in and out, then that kind of limits what can be done. So that was a good opportunity, and appreciated the opportunity and the invite that they gave. Councillor Monteith.
Were they Liberal or Conservative senators?
Mostly Liberal. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I didn't realize they have groups in the Senate. So they have a conservative group, and then they have a progressive left group, and then a a liberal group, and then they have an independent group. So some of them were independent. I think the majority of the Senate would classify themselves as independent, so they're not whipped to vote any direction. So I didn't know that that's how that works. So it was interesting to kind of hear that work, and yeah, hopefully there can be some good connections built out of that. Councillor Henniger?
I just wanted to thank the town administration and individuals who were involved with the pilot street patio. If you've been down to in front of Stronghold Brewing, I've already seen 2 wheelchair users utilize that, which was super cool because you can't really make it up their stairs to go to their beautiful patio out back. And so I know that was more of a launch of a pilot initiative. I haven't heard as many negative things that I thought I would hear from losing parking, but it's just really refreshing to see people are driving by and going, what? And I've heard great things from the tourism side of people just walking down our main street. So thank you.
I was going to say on behalf of the Ford Museum, thanks everyone for those who came out to Canada Day. I think it was really good to see. I think they had just under 1,000 visitors come through. And Margaret Plumtree is the new executive director, and she started the Wednesday before Canada Day. And so was able to be there and welcome a lot of the guests in. So if any of you are in about the fort, definitely stop in, say hi to Margaret. She's definitely very passionate about the fort and looks forward to helping the fort grow and connect and collaborate in the community. And then the one other thing, are you going to Mexico? Yeah. Kind of Cielo Burdette.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yeah, so last week we had some special visitors come a long way to come visit our charming little corner of the world. We had David Figueroa and Miguel Torruco. They came from Mexico. They were here to see the Stampede, and they're working on some business things, tourism between Alberta and Mexico specifically, and they wanted to come see our community because of its charm and everything we have to offer. And we had a good visit with them, with the mayor and a couple councilors that we were able to make their acquaintance, and they've proposed the idea of potentially creating some sort of sister city, some sort of agreement to foster a good relationship and encourage tourism. So it was a great opportunity. I thought it was brief, but it was good. It was a good opportunity to meet them. The other thing I just wanted to mention is our Pathway Open House that will be next Wednesday, the 23rd, from 6:30 to 7:30 to discuss the possibility of some paving going on at our River Valley Wilderness Park. We'd love for people to show up to that and get some more information and share their feedback with us.
Yeah, a lot of things going on. I think next week there's also an open house for the Neon, how do they say that? On Tuesday at 5. So if anyone's interested in learning about the battery, no longer solar installation, but it's a battery installation on the west end of Fort Macleod, then next week, Tuesday at 5 p.m. And I believe that would be at the Little Hall, right? Rio Hall? Yes. All right. If that's all for the good of council, then we will move on to public hearings, of which we have 3 tonight. And 2 are land use bylaw amendments and 1's regarding finance. So we'll start with bylaw 2004 and we'll ask our planner Gavin Scott to introduce this bylaw to us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council and staff and citizens. This evening we have a public hearing on bylaw 2000. It is legally described as a portion of Block X, Plan 3370AI. The proposal is to move portions of that property from residential R to residential large lot. And from the circulation, there were no concerns. So getting into the details of the property, is currently zoned residential. It is the applicant's intention to subdivide the parcel into 36 parcels, residential parcels, in 3 phases. The town of Fort Macleod land use bylaw does not allow for residentially zoned parcels to be above 0.5 acres in size without rezoning them to large lot. And this rezoning will accommodate 8 lots, of which are all over 0.5 acres within the development. The proposal was advertised in the Gazette June 18th and 25th, and it was posted in the town office, circulated on social media, and sent to adjacent landowners. No comments were received. And from the write-up, the recommendation is to move forward with the public hearing, hear if there's any objections, and then move second and third this evening. Thank you.
Very good. So I'll request a motion from council to open the public hearing for bylaw 2004. Councillor Fox makes that motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. So the public hearing for bylaw 2004, a land use bylaw amendment, is open. Anyone wishing to speak for or against bylaw 2004? We'd invite you to the mic and present for or against. If there's no one here speaking for or against, then I will request a motion from council to close the public hearing for bylaw 2004. Councillor Poitras makes that motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Bylaw 2008 is also a land use bylaw amendment, and I'll ask our planner Gavin Scott to introduce this bylaw to us.
The second public hearing this evening is for bylaw 2008. It is land legally described as Plan 92B, Block 362, Lot 1, and the easterly half of Lot 2, currently zoned residential R, moving to residential multi-unit RMU1. Further, we have the following legal descriptions, and they are all of lots within Plan 1014707, all of Plan 08-10604, Plan 2-111-412, Block 201, Lot 18, Plan 24-11921, Block 316, Lots 28 to 32, Plan 77-10938, Block 15, Lot 1, Plan 92B, Block 311, Lots 10 to 14, Plan 92B, Block 403, Lots 17 and 18, Plan 92B, Block 426, Lots 5 and 6, and the proposal for those is to move them to multi-unit 2. The details of the proposal: the town of Fort Macleod has recently updated to the land use bylaw to better define density in 2 land use districts, and those being both multi-unit. The bylaw is certainly an update to, the past bylaw is an update to the 2008 bylaw, and it accommodates existing multi-unit developments to comply with the new land use bylaw. So that's worded strangely, but essentially the issue was that when we passed the new bylaw, we did move all the multi-unit dwellings to MU1, the multi-unit 1, and those that were more dense than 4 units needed to move to multi-unit 2. And there was one that was identified that had never been zoned. It was zoned residential and needs to move to residential multi-unit 1. The advertisement was placed in the Gazette June 18th and 25th, posted in the town office, circulated on social media, and sent to the adjacent landowners. No comments were received. This evening's proposal is to hear any concerns from the citizenry, and if there are none, to move forward with second and third reading.
Thank you very much for that introduction to this bylaw. So I'll request a motion from council to go for a public hearing of bylaw 2008 to open the public hearing. Councillor Fox makes a motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Being this is a public hearing for bylaw 2008, I would invite anyone wishing to speak for or against bylaw 2008 that they would be able to come to the mic and share their comments for or against. Asking a second time, Anyone wishing to speak for or against bylaw 2008? Third time. All right.
Good evening. I would just like to ask council if maybe they could have a look at the multi-unit housing that they have approved already. And just to revisit some of the parking, some of the police visits that are coming out to the apartments. Like just this month alone, the RCMP have been out 5 times to the ones on 9th Street. I think if you, this is going to be something new for the town, you might want to consider problems that are going to come up down the road. Thank you. Oh, sorry, my name is Bill, and I'm neither for or against this.
Thank you very much, Bill. Comments duly noted. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against bylaw 2008? If none, I request a motion to close the public hearing for bylaw 2008. Councillor Haniger makes that motion. Call to question. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Moving to bylaw 2007, it's a borrowing bylaw, and our Director of Finance, Chris Holbeck, would introduce this to us.
Thank you, Mayor Fader. Good evening, Council. Before you tonight, I will introduce bylaw 2007, which is the municipal borrowing bylaw. This is an administrative bylaw, and it outlines any type of borrowing that the town does through our financial institution. This bylaw amends an existing bylaw because some of the terms have changed within what we need to borrow with the town. It is an increase to the combined credit limit of the 3 management credit cards from $30,000 in total to $75,000 in total. It's moving the current credit line of credit of $1 million away from the general operating account and into, so it's specifically for the community energy improvement program for financing purposes for any projects that come out of that program that's upcoming, and then adding a smaller line of credit to the general operating account of $100,000. We did advertise it in the local press for a couple of weeks and on our social media platforms. We did receive one comment that was against the increase to the credit cards. Other than that, I don't know if maybe Anthony has anything he'd like to add to that, but we are looking for second and third reading tonight.
Very good. Monsieur Burdette, did you want to introduce as well?
Just a couple of comments regarding some of the, I guess, concerns around the credit card, and credit card specifically is something that we're very aware of. The ability to lose your credit card for credit card theft, those types of things. And so between the Director of Finance, Chris, and myself, we're doing our best to ensure that the proper controls are in place, working with the bank to see what they can do on their end to ensure security, if in the case of theft or loss, and on our end to make sure that we have the right controls in place. We did look into things like chip, and I guess to see if you could deactivate the chip without PIN and those types of things, as well as not allowing for cash withdrawals off the credit card if it were stolen or lost. And so we're working on a few of those things to see if we can make it as tight as possible. But we do feel that a $25,000 limit between the 3 cards individually will help a lot in the administrative ability, especially for things like the conference, the Alberta Municipalities Conference, when there's 7 or 8 hotels that need to be booked for a longer stay, for a few nights stay, and those types of things, because we might have other things on the credit card as well. So we feel it is important for the business operations for this, and yeah, if you have any questions, you can obviously ask them to us.
All right, so the bylaw 2000 has been introduced. I'd request from council a motion for the public hearing for bylaw 2007. Anyone wishing to make a motion to open the public hearing? Councillor Fox makes the motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Anyone wishing in the gallery wishing to speak for or against bylaw 2007? It's a municipal borrowing bylaw. It increases our borrowing from essentially from 30 to 75, right? So it's an extra 45. It's just readjusting some of the numbers. Anyone wishing to speak for or against bylaw 2007? I'll call for a third time. Anyone wishing to speak for or against bylaw 2007? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to close the public hearing for bylaw 2007. Anyone make? Councilor Poitras makes that motion. To close the public hearing, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Under considerations of the public hearings we just had, bylaw 2004, a land use bylaw amendment, we have passed already first reading. The request is that we pass to second and third reading. Is anyone prepared to make a motion for second reading of bylaw 2004? Councillor Fox makes the motion for second reading of bylaw 2004. Any questions, comments from council for administration? Councillor Monteith.
This is the land that's east of the cemetery, is that correct?
Correct.
I did have one question. So changing these lots is basically allowing, it's part of the greater plan. It's just, this is what they have to do for now, correct?
Yeah, so in my reading of the write-up, there's 36 lots. It's difficult to discern where all those lots are lying right now. This is a crescent-shaped street that runs through this property. And you can kind of see from the zoning, these larger parcels are on the outside edges of that crescent-shaped street that'll run through here. And the change is allowing for the larger lots to exist. Since the new bylaw was adopted where we did put lot size into the districts, there is, I guess, the need to then identify which lots are allowed to be a certain size.
And it doesn't mean that one large piece will be one lot, right? That could be multiple.
No,
lots.
there are multiple lots
Yeah,
in the rezoning as
Right.
presented.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So motions on the floor for second reading. Any further discussion, questions, or debate? Councilor Poitras?
Yeah, I haven't committed the Land Use Act to memory yet. So just curious, is there any difference in permitted uses, residential lot to residential large lot?
I'll say that's a fine question while I get my bylaw set. Generally,
I think it revolves a lot around septic, right? Yeah.
so one of the things that is different is that in the accessory building category under large lot, there are 3 categories based on size. Given the lot size, you can imagine how the secondary accessory building, the garage / shop at times, needs to be regulated based on its size in the neighborhood. And so in that district, you'll see at the very top of those listings, the differing sizes that are allowed and how they're being processed. And then from there, there's slight differentiations in the ready-to-move modular type homes. They're categorized differently in each district, even though I believe they are allowed in both. It's just where the modular A sits versus modular B. Under the discretionary uses, that's where you'll find in the residential district, those are certainly discretionary. And from there, I don't see a lot of differences other than parks and playgrounds being listed in the residential district. Lodging houses, group home, limited. So a few uses on the discretionary side that are included in the residential district, not included in the large lot.
Thank you.
That's good. Any other comments, questions, debates? Motion for second readings on the table. If there is none, I'm called to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. I'll request from council a motion for third reading of bylaw 2004. Anyone prepared to make that motion? Councillor Patel. Any further discussion, debate, or questions? Seeing none, we'll call to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Bylaw 2004 has been passed. Moving on to bylaw 2008, it's another land use bylaw amendment regarding multi-unit lands from multi-unit 1 to multi-unit 2. And from what I understand, these are all current existing buildings on these lots. None of them are proposed or new construction. It's all existing lands to adjust based on the new land use bylaw. Anyone prepared to make a motion for second reading of bylaw 2008? Councillor Wilson, who makes the motion? Any further discussion, debate, or questions? Councillor Monteith?
I find this a little confusing. So the way I'm reading the recommendation, we're going from residential R, which is single family or duplex, to multi-unit 1. But those are townhouses. Would they not be multi-unit to begin with?
Yeah, so that set of buildings, it's, I believe, 6 units there. They were residentially designated, and because they're over the 4 units, they need to move to the RMU. Sorry, it's a fourplex, RMU 1. So they were
Because
in,
it's only 4 units, right?
yeah, they were incorrectly designated. The R district will only allow you to get to 2 units.
Okay.
All right, any other comments or questions on bylaw 2008? Yeah, CEO Burdette.
Just thank you, Mayor and Council. In response to Councillor Monteith's question, and I don't know if there was a bit of confusion in the kind of cover page of the submission that it looks like all of them were being redesignated to residential multi-unit 1. If you take and that's just, it could have been written a little bit better. If you look at the actual page of the bylaw, just that first property is going from residential to multi-unit 1. The rest of that listing of properties is going from residential 1, or sorry, multi-unit 1, and that's what we did with the bylaw 2000, and they are going to residential multi-unit 2. So it's kind of like, I don't know, that one line kind of got missed on the cover sheet, but that's what is being proposed, that the rest of them are going to the higher density residential multi-unit.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other comments or questions on bylaw 2008? Seeing none, the motion for second reading is on the floor. Call it to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. A request from council, a motion for third reading of bylaw 2008. Councillor Fox makes that motion. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, I will call for a question for the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Bylaw 2008 has been carried. And then regarding the comments from the gallery from Bill, I think that's something that there has been discussions on with the RCMP, right? And it's good to keep our mind on those things. CEO Burdette?
Yes, absolutely, and we've been in discussion, and I think, with the increased density, that's, that can sometimes happen. The bylaw today that was just passed, it doesn't change anything because those buildings already exist. Those are all for existing buildings, and so it's literally just a zoning practice. But yeah, the concerns that were brought up there, the town is aware of the things that are happening, and so we're trying to be proactive in supporting the RCMP and our community there.
Nice. All right, next up is consideration of the bylaw 2007 to municipal borrowing bylaw. We have already passed first reading. The request and recommendation is to go to second and third reading. Anyone prepared to make a motion for second reading on bylaw 2007? Councillor Poitras makes that motion. Any further discussion or questions on this bylaw? Councillor Monteith?
The credit card's no different than paying online because we're approving it after it's already been done. So it just means we have to make sure we have the proper controls within administration before it gets signed and sent out. And I'm confident we do, but it is a different ballgame than it used to be where we sign checks. We don't sign many checks anymore.
Correct. So you're speaking in favor of the bylaw? Very well. Any other comments or questions on bylaw 2007 and the motion that's on the floor? If there's no further discussion, we'll call it to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Anyone prepared to make a motion for a third reading of bylaw 2007? Councillor Fox makes the motion for a third reading. Any further discussion? Questions? If not, call it to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Bylaw 2007 has been passed. Moving on to new business, we have bylaw 2010, and we also have our planner here, Gavin Scott, to introduce this one to us. So, floor is yours.
Thank you. Bylaw 2010 is being read for the first time this evening. It is located and legally described as Lot 14, Block 315, Plan 92B. Proposal is to move from residential multi-unit 1 to residential multi-unit 2 and schedule a public hearing to be held on August 25th at 7 p.m. Any early questions? I could try to answer those.
Very well. Anyone prepared to make a motion as per the recommendation, which would be to advertise and first reading? Councillor Poitras makes a motion, and the motion is for first reading and to advertise a public hearing for the stated date of August 25th. Anyone, motions on the floor. Any comments, concerns, questions for administration on this before it goes to vote? Councillor Monteith.
Is this not the same as what the other bylaw was? The same units?
This is one on the end of what had been passed, is already built. This one has not been built. So there was, we were going after the ones that had been built in the previous bylaw. This one is being proposed. And in this case, they are not initially proposing to subdivide along the party walls. It may be a standalone 6-unit building.
So, yeah, the applicant has requested rezone of this particular lot from residential multi-unit 1 to residential multi-unit 2. First reading motion is on the floor. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, I will call to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. We'll look forward to seeing this at the public hearing. Then moving on to new business number 2, bylaw 2009, and our CEO, Anthony Burdett, would like to speak to this one.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you have bylaw 2009. And if Council can recall that in previous years, we had closed the Perkins Street, which was a road allowance adjacent to Weston Manufacturing and some Pascals, and that road was closed in previous years. Currently, with the closure of that road, adjacent land sales, and dealing with the adjacent owners, as you can see on the screen in front of you, it's proposed that we take that road as it was closed and divide it into 2 sections. Given the kind of framework around how this can be done, we don't actually have to go through subdivision, which is great because that speeds up the process, because we have both adjacent parties that are willing to purchase the parcel, as was made in motion to sell the parcel, and consolidate that portion with the adjacent parcels as well. So tonight, the recommendation is that council gives all 3 readings to bylaw 2009, to amend bylaw 1969 by changing the legal description of the road closures, and this would allow us to divide it and consolidate it in the sale to the adjacent landowners.
All right, so motion, anyone prepared to make a motion as per the recommendation? I guess we'll start with first reading. We could do all 3 readings tonight. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, that is our recommendation.
Anyone prepared to make a motion for first reading of bylaw 2009? Councillor Poitras makes the motion. All right, any further discussion or questions for administration? I was just gonna pull it up on Google Maps. So this would be, obviously, discussions have been had with neighboring landowners and all makes sense. So let's go. So motion's on the floor.
I guess just a
Give it.
couple more comments, just for clarity's sake. The town is going to require that when it's sold and consolidated, that there will be fences built to, nice clear delineation between the property lines, and that, there's a few conditions as far as development goes as well, but this will help just kind of clean it up as well, so it's nice and tidy and defined.
Thanks. Okay, so first reading motion is on the floor. If there's no further discussion or questions, we'll call it to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Anyone prepared to make a motion for second reading of bylaw 2009? Councillor Fox makes the motion for second reading. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, we'll call it to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Being the request is for 3 readings in the same meeting. Anyone, we would request a motion from council for unanimous consent motion for bylaw 2009. Councillor Wolstenholme. This would be a motion to be able to proceed with third reading. So we would need unanimous consent to do that. So without any further discussion, call to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Unanimously carried. And we would request a motion for third reading of bylaw 2009. Councillor Patel makes the motion. And if there's no further discussion or questions, we'll call to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. All right, proceeding with bylaw 2005 for our third new business item, and our Director of Finance, Chris Holbeck, will introduce this one to us.
Thank you, Mayor Fader. Good evening again, Council. Tonight before you, you have bylaw 2005, which is a refresh of our existing non-residential tax incentive bylaw. Council likes to take a look at the tax incentive bylaws every 3-4 years. Just make sure that they are still wanting to move forward with the tax incentive program for the next cycle, and to give administration an opportunity if we have any practical challenges in administering the tax incentive programs, that we could amend the bylaw and get those little few things changed around. So tonight, bylaw 2005, the non-residential tax incentive bylaw, there are a few just small tweaks in the program that administration has requested for this one. Everything was outlined in or highlighted. We requested that the application fee of $100 be non-refundable going forward with this program. We also tweaked it so that the deadline for submitting a complete application for an exemption to be granted in the same tax year is March 31st of the given year. So any complete application received after March 31st of the given year would be considered for an exemption in the following year. There's just been some real challenges with timing and deadlines and applications coming in late. We really wanted to tighten it up. So people would know that they have a construction going on. We would do some reminders, some letters, just reminding them of the program. And then they would put in their application by March 31st of the year that that project is on their assessment. Assessments go out in April, but most people know that the project will show up on their assessment in that year. So March 31st is the new deadline for these applications, and that would help with budgeting, and it would help with administering both the non-res and the multi-unit residential programs. And then the only other thing was that there was some wording where in the previous bylaw that we said that council would review the applications. Council doesn't see the applications. Administration reviews the applications and brings forward our recommendation to council to approve the application and instruct us to enter into an agreement with the landowner. So there's not big changes that we're requesting, but I think it will help us administer the non-residential tax incentive program a little bit more efficiently. And I will take any questions that council may have. So we are not requesting all 3 readings tonight because the initial bylaw was passed with 3 readings. So, and there was a public hearing. So we have to do it the same way we did the previous bylaw. So tonight we're just asking for first reading and then for council to schedule the public hearings. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. So with that being said, we would request from council a motion for first reading of bylaw 2005. Councillor Fox makes that motion. That would be including a public hearing that would be scheduled for August 25th. Any further questions or discussion from council? Councillor Monteith?
So this applies for the year that the building is completed, correct?
So assessments are always as of December 31st of the previous year. So if you finished your project, your construction or your improvement as of December 31st of the previous year, it shows up on your next year's assessment. So people would have to have their application in by March 31st of that next year when it shows up on your assessment.
What I'm getting at is a construction period that goes over, so you have 1 year where they're not finished. Do they pay taxes on the work in progress?
Yes, they do.
So they could conceivably pay taxes, complete the building, apply for the credit, and away they go.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Very well, motion for first readings on the floor. Any further discussion, questions on bylaw 2005, which is a non-residential tax incentive bylaw? Seeing there is none, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Very similar situation for bylaw 2006. And our Director of Finance would like to introduce this one as well.
Thank you, Mayor Fader. So yes, the sister bylaw to the non-residential tax incentive bylaw is the multi-unit residential tax incentive bylaw. So we're requesting the same type of wording changes. The deadline would be March 31st of the year in which the new construction or the improvement shows up on your assessment. Miranda, actually, the executive assistant, caught that because of bylaw 2008 and how residential is now split into residential multi-unit 1 and residential multi-unit 2, that we needed to do some additional tweaking on some of the definitions and who was eligible based on that new zoning. So thank you to Miranda for catching that. But it is basically the same changes that we requested in the non-residential tax incentive bylaw.
So I'll request a motion from council for first reading of bylaw 2006. Anyone prepared to make that motion? Councillor Patel makes the motion. Any further discussion or questions on bylaw 2006? And first reading, if not, I will call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And 2025 non-residential tax incentive. Our Director of Finance, Chris Olbeck.
Thank you, Mayor Fader. There it is. Have so many files. So this is the final non-residential tax incentive application of the season. They just kept coming in after the fact. So that's another reason that we were hoping to get that new deadline in for the new iterations of the tax incentive bylaws, so that we could get some proper cutoff and communicate it to the public. So this non-residential tax incentive is for the property at 848 8th Street, owned by Matt Bar Industries. They have submitted an application, paid the application fee, and administration has reviewed it and found their application to be complete. And we are recommending that council approves us to enter into a tax incentive agreement with the property owner for the 25, 26, 27 cycle, and it is Matt Bar Industries Incorporated at 848 8th Street, roll number 3006300. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone from council wishing to make a motion as per the recommendation for the 2025 non-res tax incentive? Councillor Monteith makes the motion. Any questions or discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And moving along to Wilderness Park paving information, and our Director of Operations, Brendan Orr, would like to present some information.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So for tonight, we would like to talk about the Wilderness Park paving information. And the recommendation is to accept at this time that this is information that has been gathered. And what I'd like to do is just go through. So there in the package, you have the details of the survey, the bylaw as it currently stands, and then some letters from different committees. And what I'd like to do is just present on the summary document that I've created, just to go through kind of the whole process of where we started and where we're at right now, just to get everybody up to date. So what I'd like to go through is just the school motors donation. Then we'll talk about a little bit about the Fort Macleod bylaw and the pathway master plan. We'll look at the public opinion survey and do a high level look at that. Then we'll see some committee advisements from two committees, and then we'll talk a little bit about the open house that's upcoming. And then obviously, if after we go through this, if there are any questions, we can dive more into those documents. So first, the Scoogle Motors donation. So Scoogle Motors approached the town. They wanted to make a donation in celebration of their 100 years here in the town of Fort Macleod. They presented an idea of paving the parking lot and a pathway in the Wilderness Park. And this was in their estimation to support the reduction of foot traffic over the bridge and also support accessibility of the park and the pathways. So town administration reviewed the development guiding documentation, presented a potential option to schools of the 1 kilometer loop. We worked out communication schedule. We talked about the essentially going through doing a public survey, committee advisements, open house, and then council recommendations in motion. So this is just a high level of what we pulled together as far as what that potential might look like. And these numbers that are in your package, that's a rough estimation based on last year's paving of some of our other pathways. So these numbers we pulled together just to give schools an idea of the potential costs for that parking lot and pathway. So next we went and looked at the Fort Macleod bylaws. So 2 documents that we're looking at. So bylaw 1775, the parks bylaw. Just on a high level, it defines the areas in the Wilderness Park into 4 areas. Of note, Area 4, which is west of Area 2, and is a natural area. And that's the only area that has a defined use outlining, or sorry, the Area 4 is designated as a natural area. Accordingly, no development of any kind is to be undertaken in this area, including trails, paths, etc. And we'll look at a map of that, but that is on the further west side. Also looking at the pathway master plan. The master plan was developed in accordance with this bylaw, so there was no plans for pathways or development in Area 4, and there was also no intention of having paving in the Wilderness Park in this plan, and that's also part of what we wanted to look at, just because it wasn't in the master plan. So this shows in the bylaw, so like I said, the only area that didn't want any development was Area 4. That's on the farthest part on the west side of the Wilderness Park area. And then again, in the pathway master plan, as you can see, Area 4 down in the far left corner, there wasn't any plans in the pathway master plan to actually develop in that area. And so that was according to the bylaw. And again, just highlighting, and this isn't in the master plan, but that red line is just outlining where the proposal was. So that red area was added by myself just to highlight the position that this is taking place. So administration went to the public opinion survey. So we organized a public opinion survey in consultation with a communications specialist. We distribute it through Voyant, as well as posting it online and putting QR codes in the park itself. So the gathered information was about park users and usage, the desire of the park or suggestions for improvement priorities, accessibility, paved parking lot and pathway loop was obviously in there, usage if there was paved areas, so what the usage might change, and then general comments to be gathered. So data was gathered from June 16th to July 3rd, and the survey responses, there was 412. And just to be clear, I believe there was one more survey that was applied late on that date, so their data is not in here. We'll update that as we get it. So a couple of the questions that I guess focused on the question that we're looking at. So question 8, how important is improved accessibility at the River Valley Wilderness Park, such as a section of paved trail and parking lot? So this came out to be on average 57.8 or 57.8% of all the surveys. So this question was out of 100. The other one, question 9, would you like to see the parking lot and one existing trail loop paved at the River Valley Wilderness Park? So we had 257 that said yes, or about 62%. No, there was 98 at about 24%, and then unsure, another 57, around 14%. Also, as we were doing getting the public's opinion, we also had asked some committees to also put together some information and some letters to send to us. And so we gathered information that way as well. So we had 2 committees that responded, the Environmental Committee or Environment Committee. And again, we did have a presentation by Sean Patience Those people that had presented looking for an additional committee, we did reach out to them and said we have a committee that is already looking at these things, or that we would have them specifically look at this question. And so we did invite them, and they did join up with the Environment Committee, just so that everyone's aware that those voices were also in there. So a high level of the letter that we received there. They are in support of the donation to make improvements to the Wilderness Park. They do not support the paving, and they had some reasons: environmental impact of the contaminated runoff, potential repair costs, and sharp edges on the pathway that could cause incidents. This is not a native product and does not fit the definition of the Wilderness Park. Users are moving or could potentially be moving at high speed and causing accidents. And I think they did mention scooters or motorized vehicles. And it's not conducive with animal movements in the park. So they're suggested that other materials could be used to upgrade the current gravel. And there are some committee members that are researching some of these other products and the potential costs there. They also made some suggestions that the money could be used to upgrade the benches, signs, playgrounds, plants, information on the nature of wildlife in the corridor, and they had also suggested that potentially they could build a new picnic shelter or something along those lines in the park. So that came from the Environmental Committee. The second letter that we did receive was from the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, and they were in strong support of a solid surface pathway, such as asphalt, in the Wilderness Park. It falls within Committee of Inclusion, Equity, and Community Wellbeing, and can help ensure that natural spaces are welcoming to all residents. And some of the things that they pointed out was that it is difficult at sometimes impossible to navigate the park's natural terrain for people in wheelchairs or walkers or strollers. This would provide a safe and consistent surface, and it would support families, seniors, individuals with disabilities, and others with varying needs to connect with nature. And then, as spoken about earlier on in the council meeting, there is an open house planned. And so that open house is scheduled for July 23rd from 6:30 to 7:30, and that'll be here in the council chambers, where we also have a chance to interact with residents, to answer some questions, to talk more about any concerns or any, I guess, positive confirmations of this project. So that's kind of a high-level summary of a lot of documents that we put in that package. Are there any questions or thoughts on any of that?
Very good. Does council have questions? Councillor Monteith?
Is there going to be an agenda, or is it just going to be sort of like circling and we talk to different people that come in, or is there going to be a program?
So the plan that we were looking at, it was going to be an open house. We did put it to a short timeline so that people can come in, they can ask questions. What I was looking at is potentially having this presentation where we can talk on a high level, and then also look at more details on what might have been in the survey or what those kinds of things, or what's in the bylaw, that kind of information that we can talk through, as well as gather information for anything else that anybody wanted to present.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Monteith? Very good. Any other comments, questions regarding the information? Otherwise, I think it's definitely good information gathering, and I think you've been in communication with the potential donator as well too, regarding all the discussions.
Yeah, and we did talk to them about essentially the process and what we were going to go through to make sure, because this was unplanned, and so we've made them aware that this is not a done deal, that we did need to go through process, and that we would have to make a final decision before we could move forward. So yes, they have been kept informed.
And the one question I believe is clear, but in the master plan, the park and pathway master plan, there's not really any mention anywhere of paving, correct? On any pathways.
On any of them?
I think I did a search of the document itself, and the word paving and asphalt was not in the master plan document. So I'm just curious if that was if we had even any thoughts of that when we did the master plan.
I guess I'd have to look into that. I know that part of the request from yourself and council was that we clarify that, and so we have been working with MPE just to make sure what that looked like as far as surfaces. So I guess I'm not sure as far as history, as looking at the pathways that we have been doing, but I know it wasn't in the wilderness park.
Yeah, I guess a common reason why is the asphalt we have applied to pathways was essentially outside of what was necessarily recommended by the master plan, and so would this if it did go through. So, yeah, very good. So if there's no further discussion or questions, a motion to accept the information would be appreciated, I believe. Councillor Henniger makes the motion. If there is no further discussion on that, then we will call the motion to question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And administrative reports. There's a few of them. CEO Burdette, did you want to start them off for us?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you have I guess, all of our administrative reports for the second quarter of this year, I'll just go through a few of the highlights and be available to answer any questions that council might have. I think a big success from the last quarter was that we finally passed Land Use Bylaw 2000. It was a lot of work went into that. It's been being worked on for years, predates my time here, but yeah, a lot of work and energy was put into that, so we're really happy that that has been completed. We did award new safety codes, and that's been an interesting, I highlight that one because it's just of the things that I got to learn through that process when it comes to our safety codes process and how they supply that service. So it was a good practice for myself. I attended the local government administrators conference, the LGAA, which is always a valuable time to connect with other CAOs, connect with industry experts and professionals to kind of improve and to learn what other people are doing, which is, in turn, hopefully benefit our community as well. Lots of successes happening in McLeod Landing. I know a few of us touch on McLeod Landing because it's a big part of our town operations right now, so we're really happy to see things are moving along there. I'll steal a little bit of it because I get to go first, but we did list the lots online, which is great. Daniela did all the work for that, so that's fantastic. But the day after we had them listed, someone was already emailing us about multi-unit lots from Calgary, interested in doing some projects. I mean, it's very just initial right now, but yeah, you kind of see that impact. And so big shout out to Daniela for all the work she did on that because it was a lot of work. But yeah, we're seeing some success there. The airport hangars, they now have a taxiway to the first 3 lots, which is super exciting. And we are working on working on an airport master plan. Also something that I've tasked Daniela to do a lot of the work on. So most of my list is stuff that I get her to do now, which is fantastic. But she's making some great contributions to our team, which was another item to highlight. Obviously, the recruitment, posting, and hiring and onboarding of the economic development coordinator position. And we've been really satisfied with how that's been going. We both got to attend the grand opening for Buenos Motors Tires, which I got to go meet him and his new business there, which is always exciting when new businesses come into Fort Macleod. And he had mentioned actually he's been running a tire business for quite some time in Lethbridge, and so this was more of an expansion business. Got to know a little bit of the history there. So we always love meeting businesses. Yeah, and then excited to see the renovations continue in the Empress Theater project, and then our visitors from Mexico. So yeah, that's all I have. There is the motion list, which is attached to my report as well, that goes through all the motions that are recently completed or in progress. And I think we're really making a lot of good progress there. And if there's any questions on those 2 items, I'd gladly answer them.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions throughout, feel free to go through them. We can do some at the end as well if you want. So however council wants to do that, that would be great. Director of Finance, did you want to make some highlights of yours next?
Thank you, Mayor Fader. So I would like to highlight number 3, under taxation, cemetery, and accounts payable. We will not be having a tax recovery public auction because the 2 properties that were approved by council to go to auction have come to payment arrangements or paid off the amount owing to the town. So there will be no tax recovery auction in 2025. And that continues our string of, I think it's 4 years now that we haven't had to have one. So that's good for us. And then under audit, budgeting, and control systems, number 2, we sent our database to Catalyst today at 4:30, and it will be coming back to us via a cloud accounting software next Monday. So we're pretty excited about that. Well, I say we're excited. The girls at the front office aren't quite as keen. There'll be a lot of data entering when we get the cloud version back, and there'll be a month of double recording in both on-prem and cloud versions of the software. But once we get that cloud software up and running, that gives us a lot of opportunities to interlink it with our website, online payments, online accounts, go check your own balances. You don't have to call the town. Yeah, we're looking forward to grand things coming in the future. Thank you.
Pretty sure pretty soon AI is going to be running the town. Director of Operations, Brennan.
Oh, thanks. So I have been made aware that my quarterly reports are very long. So there's a lot of information in there. So I would like to highlight a few things just in going through. So starting off with safety, we have been putting a lot of work into the safety of our crews and getting more organized in that area. So you will see some more of these safety reports of the incidents that are happening and how we're handling them. We've also got a digital software that we're helping to track, as well as updating our manuals and looking at completing a internal safety audit for the operations of administration. So that'll also be completed here fairly soon. I have a big list of projects that we are in different stages on. As you've probably seen around town, we are starting to do a lot of work in the public works area, working on roads and sewers and those kinds of things. So those are very visible. Maybe just a couple highlights on McLeod Landing. Essentially the civil work there is done. The contractors there have closed that out, and we've moved them from prime into the shallow utilities. So that's a big milestone. And if you've seen in the area, there's already 3 houses that the basements are dug, and they're in different stages of building homes there as well. Just quickly on the Empress Theater, the washrooms are being renovated and are moving forward, and we're getting to the final stages there as well. There's good movement on the chairs and the floor, and even though we pivoted with the floor and are looking to have to recover the entire floor with the new flooring, that is moving forward, and we look like we will still be on track with the original schedule to be able to put that in place and get that back put together. I guess the last one and more just out of interest, but we have been working on the extended producer responsibility because we missed the original deadline for this. We will be fully engaged in October of 2026, but because of our work with the MD, we do have a depot here in town that many MD residents use, and they're already signed up, so we have been able to do kind of a soft start in this program, and we put that depot into the program and have signed off on those agreements and are starting that process. So we're hoping that will help us to kind of get prepared and work that throughout the whole town. With Public Works, again, like I was saying, there's some visibility on the water and sewer systems, on the roads and streets that are being upgraded. There's been a lot of work put into green spaces and vegetation. One thing of note is that we did our normal spraying, but also are working with the LRSD to help to work with them on some of their areas as well. So I think that there's been some good collaboration there. In plants, plants doesn't get as much visibility, but we sure do appreciate the water that we have. So just some standard things there as far as maintenance, but there has been a lot of work put into both the wastewater and the water treatment plants to make sure that we have the equipment and the availability of those things so that if anything does happen, hopefully you guys will never hear about it because there's good preparation there and moving forward with those things. Planning and development, agreements and policies, a lot of bylaws that have gone through, and I think we've talked about a lot of those things as far as the land use bylaw. There have been some good land sales. I don't know if Anthony, if you wanted to touch on anything in specific, but there has been some good movement. Like you talked about with the advertisement, those things moving forward, it's been good. Also some details on permits and compliance, just on a high level. With the parks and facilities, some good work as far as shifting from the arena, removing the ice, doing all that cleanup, and moving into the pool. That's a very busy time for our parks and facilities. A lot of work goes into that again, may not be seen to make sure that those facilities are in good condition as well as ready for residents. With that, also with the seasons and the outdoor parks, work gone into that for maintaining those and getting those ready for different seasons like the baseball season. I guess one more thing just on the very last page there with our service tracker. So this is a system where we pull in and kind of track the issues and concerns that we have both internally and from external sources. One thing that I did want to highlight was if you do look at the percentage of these service trackers that go to waste and recycling collection, so that number is 13 in this quarter. And I just had, we sent out a note. So in this quarter, we had 13 service tickets, and that's from 83 that we had in the first quarter. And we had around 100 in the fourth quarter of 2024. So there has been some push on communication, on clarity and working with residents. And I think there's been some good collaboration with E360S as well as the town to make sure that things are being dealt with and trying to move forward. So just a highlight there.
That's very good. Did anyone have any questions for Brendan? Councillor Monteith?
I'm just curious, the big hole at 5th and 22nd, I'm presuming that's unbudgeted. So I'm just wondering how's that dealt with from a budget perspective?
Actually, that is a capital project. So that's the sewer repair that's happening on 5th. So that, yes, that is budgeted and we are working within that budget to do that repair.
If I could just add some history. So while it was budgeted because we did discover that there was a sewer line that needed repair. We found it out at the end of last year so we could put it into the budget. It obviously wasn't known before pavement went down last year on that street, and so it's quite disappointing, but we were able to get it into the budget.
Goldbeck Solar, which solar inspection was that? Is that of our solar array?
Yeah, so Goldbeck Solar was awarded the monitoring of our solar farm. Sorry, our solar project, I guess. Old habits, right, Chris? So yeah, so they were awarded, that went through tender. Because of my history, I did remove myself from those final decisions. But they were asked and brought in because of the work that they had done. But they'll be monitoring, and they're already doing some reporting and stuff for us on the outputs of our our solar, as well as giving us some background. And I've been working with our electricity provider to see where that money is going, where the production and the power is coming to, and I'm working on a report to show more of that whole process. So that's where they come in.
All right, any other comments or questions? A nice lengthy report, thank you. There's lots going on, I must say. It's crazy. All right, Daniela, did you want to go next?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. This past quarter, I had the pleasure of joining the Town of Fort Macleod as the new Economic Development Coordinator. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here and to contribute to the town's ongoing growth and development. CAO Burdette already mentioned a few of the things that I've been working on, most of the things I wanted to talk about, actually. So all the, like you mentioned, the commercial, industrial, residential, and multi-unit residential lots owned by the town have been listed on Realtor.ca, which, if you don't already know, it's just a platform commonly used by prospective buyers. So this will increase the visibility of those lots and complement the listings we already have available on the town's website. And then additionally, the commercial and industrial lots have been listed on the Alberta Site Selector. And the Alberta Site Selector is a tool launched by the Government of Alberta to showcase commercial and industrial real estate throughout the province. So these listings will further enhance Fort Macleod's profile for business investment and opportunities. I've also created the Fort Macleod Monthly Business Spotlight, which is just a little initiative launched to celebrate and promote our business community, while also featuring Fort Macleod as a supportive place to do business. So this first feature was launched in last week's newsletter, I believe, and then it was also shared across the town's social media channels. So that's all I'd like to touch on. Thank you.
Very good, well, welcome, and wish you the very best. And our Director of Community Services.
Thank you, and
Ms.
good evening.
Galena. Yes.
For me, I'll focus on FCSS office for my HR and payroll section. We have recently hired Demique and Amy into the FCSS office for the housing worker as well as the healthy aging position, and they are both full swing now and making great strides in those positions. As Councillor Henniger had mentioned, summer staff is in swing with that summer program happening for the youth too, so we're happy to see that the FCSS office is in full swing and back to full strength. In the community services section of my role, I just wanted to give a shout out to all the town on Main Street that supported the filming. It was kind of nice to have just a short one-day film stint and not have the super big films that have a lot more impact on business and everything, and we seem to get some pretty good support from everybody. And it was also in a couple different areas of town that we're not used to having filming in, so it was a great experience. This was the first film of this size and nature that has been done since Anthony started, so we were able to go down onto set and we got to meet the writer of the movie and the book, and that was great. And we had some tours of set while they were down filming by the igloo, so that was a good experience for us to be able to be on set and see it firsthand, kind of in action and working, so that was good. In the community services piece too, I just would like to note that we are looking for janitorial services, and that RFP has been posted. We are looking for somebody for this fall to take over those small janitorial roles that are, they include the Public Works office, some of the airport office and cleaning, the community hall, the Scouts Hall, the library, some light janitorial duties there. The Scouts Hall and the community hall are definitely a little bit more involved, but we're hoping to get some perhaps good contract offers there. So that's a big one that we're looking for, and the details for that are on our website. And then in the emergency management, I just think that it was great that we were able to recognize Dick Shellhorn and his 37 plus years of services for that fire department and fire inspection services. And I was happy to be able to help the fire department facilitate that and get them in here. And just wanted to also thank council for allowing that to happen at a council meeting. I think it was very well received, and Dick was very happy to be able to be here and have those awards presented to him. So that's all for me.
Any highlights from the bylaw report?
Sure, I can tell you that Steve is doing some, a little bit more on the community standards piece with the season being out there. So he is doing some, the alley and the boulevard pieces. If you can see, his numbers are a little bit high on that. That's the number 3 on his report. So we do ask people to maintain their alleys and their fence lines in their alleys, keep the weeds down to a minimum as best they can. And so he'll kind of be stopping. And of course, he likes to do education first. So if he stops and chats with people, that's the idea, that he educates, then he notices, and then it's a fine. So there's a few steps before we jump right to fines. We try not to go that route. Again, we're looking for some, compliance first, and just with some education and some good conversation. We've had less activity with dogs than we have in a long time, so that's great.
Cats?
Cats are a different story that we're going to talk about at some point, but not tonight. But yeah, so he also provides a lot of assistance to some of our other departments, and he does some great work in getting out there and communicating and giving some notices and just helping out those other departments. So, but I would say right now most of his focus is going to be on the community standards piece and getting some of those unsightly properties and alleyways kind of taken care of.
Question I've had is alleyways. Who's responsible for mowing alleys?
So your fence line is your responsibility as a property owner. That center line, and I guess, is the town's responsibility, and then the other fence line is the other. So both sides are the property owners. If there's anything too extreme, then our guys will go down the center and take care of that center line. If property owners don't just run their lawnmower over it, a lot of property owners will just run their lawnmower over that center piece if it's not too terrible. But if it gets to that point, then Steve comes back and lets us know, and we ourselves will to go take care of our own property and make sure that the town is doing it as well.
I know there was one back alley that had pretty sizable weeds growing in the back alleys.
Yeah, so if he notices that on his patrol, then he'll likely put that service tracker in and get the other department to do it when they get out there with the mowers.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments or questions regarding any of the reports? There's a lot of information here. Thank you again for doing up the reports. Definitely very helpful and good to read. If there is no, I would ask for a motion from council to accept the reports as information. Councillor Fox makes that motion. Called question, all in favor. Any opposed? Motion is carried. And then I'll request a motion from council go in camera for the 2 items. Councillor Poitras makes that motion. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much.